Southern Africa, early 1800s. The ground shakes beneath thousands of running feet. Warriors move through the tall grass like a living storm. No horses, no guns, just shields, discipline, and terror. Entire villages flee before the battle even begins, because one name is spreading fear across the land. Shaka, the king who transformed ordinary tribesmen into one of the most feared fighting forces Africa had ever seen. But Shaka Zulu was not born powerful. He was born rejected, and the humiliation he suffered as a child would shape him into something terrifying. Around 1787, a child was born near present-day South Africa. His name was Shaka. His father was Sinzangakona, a Zulu chief. But Shaka's birth was surrounded by scandal. His parents were not officially married, and in many communities at the time, that made him illegitimate. To the people around him, Shaka was not a prince. He was an embarrassment. Some stories claim even his name came from a word linked to an intestinal parasite, as if people were mocking his existence from the very beginning. His mother, Nandi, suffered constant insults, and young Shaka watched everything. Every whisper, every laugh, every humiliation. Eventually, mother and son were driven away from the Zulu clan, exiled, alone. Soft wind sounds slow emotional music. Imagine being a child with no home, no protection, no status. In the world Shaka grew up in, weakness was dangerous, and humiliation could destroy you. The young boy learned early that respect was not given. It was taken. Life in exile was brutal. Shaka and his mother moved from settlement to settlement searching for safety. Sometimes they were accepted. Sometimes they were treated like outsiders. According to oral traditions, Shaka was often bullied by other boys, mocked, beaten, humiliated. But while others saw an angry outcast, something else was growing inside him. Observation, discipline, patience. Shaka watched how men fought, how leaders controlled fear, how power worked. And slowly, the rejected boy began transforming himself. He trained relentlessly, running long distances barefoot across rough terrain, building endurance beyond normal limits, hardening both body and mind. The pain that broke others seemed to sharpen him. To understand Shaka, you have to understand the world around him. Southern Africa at the time was not peaceful. Small clans and chiefdoms constantly competed for land, cattle, and survival. Raids were common. Famine could destroy entire communities, and warfare was usually fast and limited. Most armies fought with throwing spears. Warriors stayed at a distance. Battles were often brief. But Shaka would eventually change all of that forever. Because while other leaders fought wars, Shaka studied how to dominate completely. As a young man, Shaka joined the army of the powerful Mthethwa chief Dingiswayo. And this changed everything. Dingiswayo was more than a chief. He was a skilled strategist who was building alliances across the region. Under his command, Shaka finally found structure, purpose, and opportunity. And almost immediately, he stood out. Not because of royal blood, because of intensity. Other warriors fought to survive. Shaka fought like a man trying to erase his past. He trained harder, ran farther, fought more aggressively. Soon, stories about him began spreading through the ranks. Some said he could overpower opponents with terrifying speed. Others claimed he showed no fear in battle at all. But what truly made Shaka dangerous was his mind. He studied every weakness, every mistake, every failure in traditional warfare, and he began imagining something different, something deadlier. One battle would leave a permanent mark on him. At the time, Most warriors threw long spears from a distance. Combat often lacked decisive finishes. Enemies could retreat and regroup. But Shaka hated indecision. He believed war should end quickly, violently, completely. During battle, he reportedly noticed that warriors feared close combat. They feared looking directly into the eyes of the men they killed. That fear fascinated him, because Shaka realized something important. If he could train men to overcome fear, they could defeat almost anyone. And from that moment on, Shaka's vision of warfare began to evolve. Not just stronger warriors, not just larger armies. He wanted to create human weapons. Years passed. Shaka's reputation grew larger with every campaign. Then suddenly, the political world around him changed. His father, Sinzangakona, died. The Zulu clan faced uncertainty. Different factions competed for power. And with the support of Dingiswayo, Shaka seized his opportunity. The rejected outcast, the boy nobody respected, returned to claim leadership of the Zulu people. But this was not the return of a forgiving son. This was the arrival of a man shaped by rejection, violence, and ambition. And once Shaka gained power, Southern Africa would never be the same again. The bullied exile had become king. But ruling the Zulu was only the beginning, because Shaka was about to reinvent warfare itself. He would forge new weapons, new tactics, and an army so disciplined that entire kingdoms would collapse before it. By the early 1800s, Shaka Zulu was no longer just a leader. He was becoming something far more dangerous, a military revolutionary. The Zulu Kingdom was still small compared to larger powers nearby. But Shaka understood something most rulers did not. A kingdom's strength was not measured by its size. It was measured by discipline. And Shaka was about to create the most disciplined army Southern Africa had ever seen. Traditional warfare at the time was cautious. Warriors carried long, throwing spears. Battles often began from a distance. Men threw weapons, shouted threats, and avoided direct clashes whenever possible. Many fights ended with retreat instead of destruction. But Shaka despised this style of war. To him, it was weak, cowardly, incomplete. He wanted battles decided face to face, man against man. So Shaka introduced a terrifying new weapon, a short stabbing spear known as the iklwa. Unlike traditional throwing spears, this weapon forced warriors into brutal close combat. The blade was broader, deadlier, designed to stab, not throw. According to tradition, the name iklwa came from the sound the spear made when pulled from a body. For Shaka, war was no longer about intimidation. It was about annihilation. But changing weapons was only the beginning. Shaka completely transformed military training. His warriors trained constantly, running barefoot across sharp rocks and burning ground. Anyone who complained was punished. Weakness was unacceptable. Some stories claim warriors who could not keep pace were executed publicly. Whether every story is true or not, one thing is certain. Shaka ruled through fear as much as loyalty. His soldiers became incredibly fast, incredibly tough, able to travel enormous distances before battle even began. And unlike many armies of the time, they moved as a single machine. Then came Shaka's deadliest innovation of all, a battle strategy so effective that enemies often realized the trap too late. It became known as the Horns of the Bull. The formation was simple and terrifying. The strongest warriors formed the chest. Their job was to attack the enemy head-on and keep them locked in combat. Meanwhile, younger, faster warriors moved around both sides like horns. Their mission: surround the enemy completely, and behind them stood the loins, reserve forces waiting to strike wherever needed. Once the horns closed in, escape became almost impossible. Enemies found themselves trapped from every direction, confused, exhausted, destroyed. Under Shaka, warfare became systematic, calculated, relentless. His warriors no longer fought as individuals seeking glory. They fought as one body, one weapon, one unstoppable force. And everywhere the Zulu army marched, fear followed. Villages abandoned their homes before the warriors even arrived. Some surrendered immediately, others resisted, and disappeared. As Shaka's power expanded, nearby chiefdoms faced a brutal choice. Join him, or fight him. Many chose alliance. Others were conquered. The Zulu Kingdom grew rapidly, and with every victory, Shaka's legend became larger. Stories spread across southern Africa about warriors who ran silently through the night, about armies that attacked with terrifying coordination, about a king who demanded absolute obedience. To many people, the Zulu army no longer seemed human. It felt unstoppable. But conquest came with consequences. As Shaka expanded his influence, entire regions were thrown into chaos. Communities fled from advancing armies. Old alliances collapsed. Rival groups attacked one another while struggling to survive. This violent period would later become associated with Mfikane, a time of upheaval, migration, and destruction across parts of southern Africa. And at the center of it all was Shaka. Some saw him as a genius. Others saw him as a destroyer. But nobody ignored him. Inside the Zulu Kingdom, discipline became harsher with every passing year. Warriors were forbidden from showing cowardice. Retreat could mean death. Failure could mean execution. Even loyalty was tested constantly, because Shaka trusted no weakness. And over time, fear transformed his army into something terrifyingly effective. Young boys dreamed of becoming warriors. Enemies prayed never to face them. And Shaka himself became more powerful than the outcast child he once was ever imagined possible. But power was changing him. The victories, the bloodshed, the constant warfare. It was creating a ruler who no longer saw mercy as strength. And soon, that darkness would consume not only his enemies, but his own people as well. At the height of his power, Shaka Zulu ruled through fear. His armies were unstoppable, his enemies scattered before him. And the Zulu Kingdom had become one of the most powerful forces in southern Africa. But the same brutality that built Shaka's empire was beginning to consume him. Years of warfare had transformed the king. The disciplined military genius who once inspired warriors was becoming increasingly paranoid, more suspicious, more ruthless. Shaka trusted fewer people with every passing year. Even loyal advisors feared speaking openly around him. Because under Shaka's rule, one mistake could mean death. And nobody felt truly safe. Not even his own family. Then tragedy struck. Shaka's mother, Nandi, died, and her death shattered him. According to many accounts, the grief consumed him completely. The mighty warrior king who had crushed entire armies became emotionally unrecognizable. Shaka ordered massive mourning ceremonies across the kingdom, but mourning soon turned into terror. Some historical traditions claim thousands were executed during this period. Anyone accused of showing insufficient grief risked death. Pregnant women were reportedly killed. Milk was forbidden because Shaka believed no calf should drink while his mother was gone. Whether some details were exaggerated over time or not, the fear inside the kingdom became overwhelming. The people no longer saw only a powerful king. They saw a ruler spiraling into madness. As fear spread through the kingdom, resentment spread with it. Shaka's inner circle grew nervous. His brothers watched him become more unstable. Military commanders feared what the future might bring. And slowly, whispers of betrayal began moving through the shadows. Because history had shown one dangerous truth. A king who rules entirely through fear eventually creates enemies everywhere around him, even among those closest to him. By 1828, tensions inside the kingdom had reached a breaking point. Shaka's half-brothers, Dingain and Mlangana, began plotting against him. They knew confronting Shaka openly would be suicide. So they waited, watching, planning, searching for the perfect moment to strike. And eventually, that moment came. One day, while much of the army was away, Shaka stood vulnerable, without the protection of his full military force. That was when the conspirators moved. Accounts differ on exactly how it happened, but according to tradition, Shaka was attacked suddenly by his half-brothers and their supporters. Spears struck the king, who had once terrified entire nations. The great conqueror collapsed, not on a battlefield, not surrounded by enemy armies, but betrayed from within his own household. As he lay dying, some stories claim Shaka spoke his final words to his killers, warning them that white settlers moving into the region would one day rule the land. Whether those exact words were truly spoken remains debated by historians. But the symbolism remained powerful. The mighty king who had reshaped southern Africa was gone, killed not by foreign invaders, but by the fear and violence that had grown inside his own empire. After Shaka's death, Dingain took control of the Zulu Kingdom. But the world Shaka created did not disappear. His military innovations survived. His battle tactics endured. And the legend of the Zulu army continued to spread far beyond Africa. Even years later, European observers would be stunned by the discipline and effectiveness of Zulu warriors. Because Shaka had transformed warfare itself, he turned scattered fighters into organized military regiments. He reshaped strategy, weapons, training, psychological warfare, and leadership through absolute control. But Shaka's legacy remains deeply complicated. To some, he was a visionary military genius who united the Zulu people and changed African history forever. To others, he was a ruthless conqueror whose wars brought devastation across entire regions. Both versions contain truth, because Shaka was both builder and destroyer, protector and tyrant, a man shaped by pain, who eventually became feared by the very people he ruled. Today, the name Shaka Zulu still echoes through history, a symbol of power, of conquest, of discipline, and of the terrifying cost of absolute ambition. From rejected outcast, to unstoppable warrior king, to ruler destroyed by his own empire, Shaka's story became more than history. It became legend.
are strong. We are Zulu. We march as one. Siaya, Siaya, hi, hi.
Good heavens, look at the sheer power of it. It is magnificent and terrifying all at once.
We are the Zulu, strong and true. We march for victory. We sing the praises of Shaka, the good ruler who united the Zulu.
He brought us nothing but war and
The king has risen. He is powerful. We follow him to victory. The time of exile is over. I am your king, and together we will forge an unstoppable empire.
Shaka Zulu.